Hello. Jonathan Brash. Brash by name. Jonathan irks me. Jonathan, if you're watching, hi. You've blocked me from your Facebook pages, and I've never been rude. I have opposed a lot of what you've said, but I've never been rude. And I kind of think you need to rethink those policies. You know, when it says 300 comments and you can only see 12, you know what's going on, don't you? But anyway, Jonathan, nice to see you. You're irking me because I think that you have misjudged your position and where your level of authority is and how you should behave. I think that for several reasons. There was a tweet yesterday that Kemi Badenoch posted, and you said, literally no one's listening. You retweeted it, literally no one's listening. Now, I get what you were trying to do, but you come across as petty and childish. And yet here you are in a position of, I would say, quite big responsibility. You've been voted in by your constituents, so you are there to serve your constituents. And you are in a position where your government is able to make decisions that will affect the entire British public. So by saying petty, squabbly, nobody's listening, literally nobody's listening, you know, you're not on Love Island. This is not the place for you to be saying that. And yes, other people can. Other people can have that banter. Other people can say it because they're not elected officials. You are. So you have a position of responsibility. And that is not only in the decisions that you make, it's in the way you conduct yourself. And you're irking me because you are appearing, in my opinion, to be very arrogant in the way that you engage with the British public. And let's remember, some of these people voted you in. Some of them didn't, but they are allowed, they are entitled to speak their mind, particularly if you put something on social media. You know, the amount of people that message me in the comment section of this YouTube channel and say, just be careful of what you're saying, Anna, because the thought police will come and get you. I'm like, I'm allowed to speak my mind. I'm perfectly entitled to do that. You don't have to listen to it, but I'm entitled to say it. But you are an elected official. So you do have to be careful about how you conduct yourself because you've been put in a position of responsibility. Now, I personally, I feel as though I have to be careful how I conduct myself because I wouldn't want to get myself into legal hot water. I wouldn't want to defame somebody. I wouldn't want to be slanderous or libelous. And I need to make sure that I check my facts. But you appear to have missed that bit out, and you're now just free falling into debate with people, British people that have voted or not voted, because you feel as though they are challenging you. And instead of you thinking that they're challenging your politics, you're clearly taking it quite personally and you think they are challenging you. Now, unfortunately, Jonathan, that comes with the job. But instead of taking it like a wounded child, you have to take it like a politician and respond with fact and policy. But you're not. You're going that one level underneath. And that irks me. So I've read an exchange between you and some people on Facebook, and these people on Facebook have opposed your stance on breakfast clubs. Now, they're not unique. That's not an exclusive club. A lot of people have opposed Labour's breakfast clubs, and a lot of people have been very vocal about it. You are not taking the criticism well. Now, I understand that's difficult. I understand nobody really likes to be criticised, do they? We all like to think that we're doing a good job, and it's not easy to swallow. But again, you have been voted in to a position of authority. So unfortunately, Jonathan, that's the bit where you go, okay, thank you. Yep, I hear your feedback. I hear your feedback. I take that on board. I'll go and have a look. You don't turn around and fire it back and with inferences, judgments and assumptions. That's not how it works. So when you talk and your tweet, honestly, I think you need to be very careful about how you write stuff. The club will, so on breakfast clubs, you've said the club will not only help parents make better choices. Now, Jonathan, that is going to upset people. That is going to upset parents. Why do they need Labour and a breakfast club to help them make better choices? And who says they're better choices? Who's holding this moral high ground about our choices? Who's telling us if they're better or worse? What are the better choices you want them to be making? What do you want them to be doing, other than putting their children in a state education system from as early as 9 months? What are these better choices, Jonathan? I'd be really interested to hear what the better choices you think parents should be making are, because that sounds to me like you've got an agenda. You then go on to say breakfast clubs also significantly boost children's life chances. Really? Where's the evidence? Because I've read evidence, I've read research that says actually breakfast clubs, if a child's not going to eat at home, it's not going to eat at school. And if a child is in poverty, then they don't care where they eat, whether it's at home, in school, in the teacher's classroom, or the headmaster's office. They don't care. They just want to eat. So why are we talking about significantly boosting children's life chances? Because there are children who are getting breakfast. There are children who are having breakfast at home and now having breakfast at school. So how is this significantly boosting their life chances? We know the children that aren't being fed, well, it's common sense, Jonathan. If you're not fed and watered, your life chances don't look very good. So that's where the state needs to step in. That's where these children who are in poverty, or who are in those 20% of children whose parents struggle with the cost of sending them to school, that's where the money needs to be going. And it needs to be going further. So why would you take a pot of money to feed 20% and stretch it over the 80%? Why would you do that? Why would you not recognise that 20% are struggling and put more funds into them? Because instead, what's happening, and you're inferring that parents, people like me who are opposing this, you're inferring that we don't want children to be fed. And that's just not true. No one has ever said that, Jonathan, ever. And it says so much more about you and your thought process than it does about us. No one, I haven't heard one parent say that these children shouldn't be fed. But I have heard many parents say, why are you feeding kids that don't need it? And why are we trying to reinvent the wheel? There were breakfast clubs that were working, that were run by charities. And now you've imposed a government underfunded state breakfast. And if we're on the subject of children who need it the most, why are free school meal budgets being squeezed? Why is there less money to spend on free school meals? Is it because teachers are going to have to fund their own pay rises from their existing budgets? Is it because budgets are being stretched further and further because children are coming in from the independent sector? Why is it that children who need the help aren't getting it? And that's not the past 14 years, Jonathan. You've been in power for 11 months. That's you. That's on your watch. Your education secretary has got schools closing on her watch. That's you. That is not the Tories. But yet you have to spin it all the time back to somebody, and you make assumptions and you go in and you're hard. And you go on to say people who can afford £19,000 a year to educate their children are going to be fine in relation to VAT on education. How do you know that? How do you know that? Because for sure, there are people that can afford £19,000 and you can add VAT, national insurance, any stupid tax you want, they'll always be able to pay it. But that's no good if their school's gone pop, because you need a whole community to be able to pay it. And unfortunately, everyone's circumstances are different. So if you've got 19 grand and it's no bother to you if it's got VAT and national insurance on it, then great, good for you. But if your local school, your local independent school where you wanted to send your children to has just gone bust, what do you do then? So they won't be fine, will they, Jonathan? And what about the children that have already left? Now you and your party say state is crumbling. On the one hand, you tell us it's an absolute nightmare. And yet on the other hand, you tell us that's where we should all want to be. We should all aspire to be in state. Which one is it? Pick a lane. So I don't think those in the independent sector will be fine. And I don't think those who really do need a breakfast are getting what they need. But I do think 80% of children that don't need a breakfast are being offered one. I do think teachers are struggling to fund and staff the breakfast clubs. And I do think Labour have lied. You've told us it's a free breakfast. It's not. It's a taxpayer-funded breakfast. And it was already being funded by charities. So what you've done is cost the taxpayer more for a service that 80% of kids didn't need. And that, Jonathan, is where you and I will fall out. And I will keep coming back to that point. You can block me as much as you like. I'm not saying anything that so many others aren't saying. So soon enough, you're going to have to block a vast percentage of the people that engage with you on Facebook. And for what? Would it not be better to listen? Would it not be better to hear the comments that these people are saying? And Jonathan, remember, you're aligning yourself very closely to Bridget Phillipson, and so is Stephen Morgan. Well, if that ship goes down, where are you? People won't forget this. The voting public won't forget this. So if you're looking for another term in Hartlepool, you might want to have a little think about what people are thinking right now. You might want to, instead of censoring them, engage with them and actually go, ooh, yeah, I think we might have got that wrong. I'll go and speak to the Secretary for Education and I'll go and see if we can do something about it. Or I'll relay your concerns. Instead of constantly batting it back because you are impervious to any kind of criticism or any kind of opposition. You can't be, Jonathan. It's part of the job. You were voted to serve your constituents. And as a ruling party, you were all voted to serve us, the British people. And if we have something to say that opposes your policies, then you have to listen. It's in the job description. So if I were you, I'd go back on Facebook and I might start being a little bit more conciliatory to the people who oppose your policies. I might start being a bit more polite. I might start acting a bit more like an MP and a lot less like a petty child in a school playground who doesn't like what they're hearing. Because it's not going well for you at the minute, Jonathan. The optics surrounding Jonathan Brash are not overly positive. You have got time to turn it around and I genuinely hope you do. But right now, it really isn't looking great.